Tell that child where they need to be and how they need to be, and tell it. Stop that now. No smile. It's not a joke. I said no, and you're not gonna do that. You will not do that. And that's it. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, please do not take this video as instructions on how to go and now start telling your child and do this and do that. This is just an insightful way that over time I'm trying to implement, and also just by what I have, the research that I have done, I have realized that it's a way that I think helps, and it's something that, anyway, something I want to share, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. So of course we're going to put this in the setting of a toddler. Let's say it's a toddler, but I feel like this can be implemented with a child of any age, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's all about the impact that you have on your child and how you groom them and prepare them for the world out there. Eventually that helps them become goal-oriented human beings. So yeah, anyway, let me not mumble. Let's get into it before I forget what I wanted to say. So how to set goals for a toddler. This sounds crazy even just saying it, but the initial goal you want is to have a mentally strong child. You want to have a mentally strong toddler. Now, toddlers are headstrong, and that's just the nature, because they're learning. It's so much information from knowing nothing, and now their brains are sucking it all in, and they're headstrong. They know what they know, they like what they like, and that is it. You can't tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But that's if you're doing it from a point of view of command, of I'm your mom and I'm telling you what to do, so you should do it because I said so. Then it becomes a battle. It's a war between you and your toddler, and then egos are involved, because now you are like, I'm the parent. Why shouldn't this little kid listen to me? Why isn't he or she listening to me? They should listen to me when I say this, when I say that. There you're operating from your ego, and when your ego is wounded, you become frustrated or you become angry. You yell at your toddler, you discipline your toddler, you punish your toddler for being a toddler. Now, we want our children to become goal-oriented. We want them to have, to be able to set goals. This starts from the little things. So now I have a 2-year-old toddler going on 3. Very headstrong, very active, but at the same time sucks in everything. So every moment is a teaching moment. Everything I tell him, he soaks in, good or bad. So you have to be very careful what you tell your children, because everything you tell them now kind of is imprinted on their brains up until they're 7, if I'm not mistaken. But so in the attempt of having or trying to instill setting goals in a toddler to use when they're older, when they can actually set their own goals, as a parent, I feel like there's 1 or 2 things that you could do. It's one thing that trickles into other things as usual. I like to talk in one thing leads to another, but follow me on this. So you have to be authentic, and you have to be mentally strong, okay? So toddlers, children mirror what they see. If you've ever noticed, when you leave your child with their grandparents and they come back to you after a day or 2 with their grandparents, and suddenly they speak like their grandma or their grandpa, that's because that's the nature of children. They mimic, they see things and they do those things, and if those things become habits, they see them often, they start to think they're normal, and they start to do those things, and that becomes a part of their personality or a part of their character. And so you need to be authentic, you need to be honest, because you don't want to be ingenuine. You need to build trust between you and your child. And you need to be mentally strong. If you are not mentally strong, there's no way you're going to have a child that's mentally strong, because they're just going to mirror what you are doing. And if it's coming from a fake place, it can only go for so long, because eventually it becomes a part of their life. It's something that they'll see consistently. Now, authenticity, I think, says it all on its own. And then I want to focus a little bit more on being mentally strong. You need to be clear, because children, toddlers need clarity. Now, when you speak to them, you have to speak and pronounce your words properly. Set boundaries. If you're giving rules, set boundaries. Do not do this. And don't say, if you do this, I will do that. No. You ask them. For example, you told your toddler, stop banging that plate on the floor. The first time. They heard you and they continued. And they did it again. And you told them again the second time. And they pretend not to hear you. In our case, our son actually responds and says, mama, mama, like that. So he hears me. He just chooses to ignore me. And that's normal. It's developmental. It's part of the developing process. But at the same time, if you let that go on too far, it becomes detrimental to the child. And then you have a child that has got no moral upbringing, no manners, So trying to strike a balance is very important. Now be clear. Tell them, if you don't stop banging that pot or that plate, it's gonna break. And when it breaks, it's going to hurt you. So let them know of the consequences of their actions that have nothing to do with you, because 9 times out of 10, when we try to help these children, these toddlers, these little human beings, it's because we're trying to protect them from harm. If a child is playing, there's no way a parent is going to say, stop playing because I say so. I mean, unless it's time to go and take a bath or it's time to eat. There's always a good reason why rules and regulations are put in. So currently we are battling brushing of teeth, and initially he really loved it, but nowadays it's just like it's always a struggle. The first thing in the morning you brush your teeth and he's crying. And so my new approach is, I'll tell him twice, let's go and brush our teeth. No, let's go and brush our teeth. Mama. And I won't ask again. I'll go and I'll brush my teeth. And he will come to me to the bathroom. Mama, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm brushing my teeth. Do you want to brush yours? No. I'm like, okay, I'll put your toothpaste on your toothbrush and I'll leave it here. When you want to brush your teeth, you will take your toothbrush and you'll brush it. And now he's slowly getting to the why, not so persistently, but he's slowly getting there. So some days he'll ask me, Mama, why are you being bad with me? And then he'll tell me, I'm upset with you because you're being bad with me. This is because I've asked him to brush his teeth. And for him, he wants to do something else. He probably wants to go and eat immediately, and I'm wasting his time. So to him, I'm the bad guy. He's the good guy. And in that moment, I told him twice already, I put the toothpaste on the toothbrush and I put the toothbrush where he can reach it. And the only thing I'll tell him in that moment is, look, if you don't brush your teeth, little germs are going to come and start eating all the food that's on your teeth. All the pasta you ate last night, all the sweets, everything that you ate last night that's still stuck on your teeth is going to be eaten by these little insects. The little germs are going to come and nobble. And when they finish eating the food on your teeth, they'll eat the teeth and then they'll eat your lips. It'll be dramatic, but he gets the idea. I only go extra if he's really being headstrong, but generally by the time I tell him, look, the little insects are coming and it's not going to be nice. You're not going to like it if they eat all your teeth, because how are you going to smile? Show me your smile and then we'll have a smile. Do you want to have your smile tomorrow? Yes. Do you want to see your smile in the mirror? Yes. Okay, brush your teeth. And then he takes his toothbrush and he starts to brush. He doesn't know how to brush his teeth well at the moment. So I tell him, do you want mama to help you? Sometimes it's a no, sometimes it's a yes, it depends. And so I'll help him and then we'll brush his teeth. But it's always a case of you win a little battle to win the war, if that makes any sense. And so we have a saying in Bemba that goes, ukupoke chisendo kun koko kunakilila. Now, this only if you've grown up chasing chickens, catching them so that you can have them for a meal, you will understand. Or if you're trying to get something from a chicken, because if you let your chickens just graze and eat off the land, if they get something that's important, they like to get little tiny things that they shouldn't eat, probably something important. I don't know, a ring, or I don't know, something important, small, that they can grab with their beaks. For you to get that item from that chicken, never, because it's going to run away from you. The only way you can get it is to be calm. You have to humble yourself. So you have to surrender for you to get that. So when you surrender and you pretend to feed the chicken, and when it comes closer to you and thinks everything's okay, you grab it and you get what you wanted to get from it. So that's basically the idea and the kind of approach that I take, which is honestly not the approach that I was handed when I was growing up. Because if you grew up in my time, late 80s babies, our mothers were on another level. You were saying no and there was a slipper coming straight to your face. That's another story. But so being clear with your boundaries and just telling them, look, if you don't do this, or sometimes I don't call them threats, it's just consequences. If you don't do this, this is not going to happen. So if you don't put on your shoes, we are not leaving that gate. We are not going anywhere. You're not going to the park, and you're not going to play, and you will not see your friend. That is it. And he will contest you and cry and try and tantrum and try the boundaries. You have to stand firm on your boundaries. If you give in once, twice, that's it. That boundary is broken. You have to create a new one, because children learn from what they see. You have to be firm. When you're firm, they'll understand. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be judgmental or even hurtful. Just be firm with what you say. Say it once, maximum say it twice, and move on with your life. Trust me, they heard you and they will listen. And then the other thing is that you need to have a mentally strong child is connection. Now, a lot of people mistake connection for attachment, and I think those are two different things. Attachment is good also. It's beautiful. I feel like it's a beautiful thing. I'm attached to my son and I know he's attached to me, and we have our connection. At the same time, I try and give like him space to be himself. Of course, there are times I just want to be there. If he falls and, grazes himself, I want to run there and grab him and pick him up. I don't want him to be in harm's way. But at the same time, I don't want him to feel that I will always be there to protect him. I want him to trust himself a lot more. So when he's running and, I could easily, instincts just say, okay, there's a little hole or a depression in the ground. And I'll tell him, oh no, run on the other side. I don't do that anymore. I'll just let him run, and he'll notice these things. So he'll see the depression, he'll jump it, or he'll stop, or he'll go around it. So I'm also helping him build his instincts and his judgment, like all that is part of development. So if I'm constantly hovering over him and trying to protect him, I will stop that. And so that is the connection I'm talking about. So I'm there and I'm present, and I'm not going to pick him up. If I notice that this guy hasn't seen that depression coming there, I will tell him, Tito, there's a hole over there. And so he will stop, mama, or he will jump or something. I mean, sometimes it's too late and he goes in and he hurts himself. But then we talk about it like, oh, did you see that? You have to pay attention. Look down when you're running. Always look down and see where you're stepping in. There could be a hole, there could be a stone, and you could hurt yourself. And do you remember when you hurt yourself, how you felt? Make them aware of the consequences of the actions if they don't do what is asked of them. That is basically it. And then the connection comes in where you empathize with them and you connect with them on their level. And it's very common for parents to talk to children from a higher ground. Naturally, we are taller than our children when they're younger. And so you'll be talking to your child and be telling them, no, don't do that. That doesn't give them, that doesn't build comfort. It doesn't build trust between your child and you. It more or less kind of creates a barrier of mama or papa is up there and I am down here. But what you want is to create a place of, we are in this together, I see you, I feel you, but you cannot do that, you know. So doctors and child psychologists advise that you go down to the child's level, kneel down, squat, look them in the face, and just speak to them like you would speak to your peer, to your friend, like, okay, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this, or this and this and this and that. And I know that it's a form of parenting that is fairly new, probably trending, but it really definitely has its benefits. And there are moments where it doesn't work because nothing is 100% solid proof. It doesn't work. But where that doesn't work, resort to plan B, which is original settings, you know. Tell that child where they need to be and how they need to be, and tell it. Stop that now. No smile. It's not a joke. I said no, and you're not gonna do that. You will not do that. And that's it. And walk away. There will be a tantrum, there will be screams, but you say no. And that child will stand still, won't move a bit, unless, I don't know, unless you're just unlucky. But yeah, so stand firm and be clear and build that connection and that attachment with your child. Let them know that you're there with them in that thing that they're going through. So all this falls under creating a mentally strong child. And I feel like once you have a mentally strong child, this leads to having a child that is confident, that, you know, that their self-esteem is boosted, and they're a free thinker. So you have a child that can judge and assess situations that may be dangerous because they know the consequences. You've taught them what the consequences will be. Their self-esteem is higher because you trust them to trust themselves in situations that may seem difficult. So they're confident in who they are. They're confident in doing things on their own because they know that my mom or my dad has my back, and you trust them to do these things. So you inevitably have this child who is able to be confident, to have the self-esteem, and to be a free thinker. And all these things, if done well at the right time, you know, I don't think it's anything that can be forced. It's a learning. I think parenting is a learning journey, is a learning phase for both the child and the parent. So it's not something that you do once and you get it right. It's not something that you'll do twice, and, you know, it's something that you'll do consistently throughout the child's life. So starting them young obviously is the best. The younger they are, the better, because then they get to understand you better, and they get to understand themselves a lot better, and you create a relationship between you and your child that's not just mom, the rule maker, and the police that makes sure that these rules are followed. You know, it's a two-way relationship, and you share, you dialogue. I mean, you relate with each other. So you let them know what you're thinking, why you're telling them what you're telling them. Like, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to hurt yourself. I'm telling you this because I'd like you to have clean teeth. I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I feel it's good for you, you know? So consequences need to be told, good and bad, and the child needs to know, and that gives them the ability to make their own decisions. And so in ultimately becoming a toddler that sets goals, you have a child that's able to think and assess situations. So for example, in a simple game of football, you know, and the goal is to get the ball inside at the back of the net, and you give the child the ball because you have entrusted this child with the abilities to run and to kick and to play freely. You give them the ability to set the goals, so they will know with their timing, if I run this fast and stop and slow down before I kick the ball, and I kick it in this direction, it will go in. So it starts from there, from the little things, from playtime, from trying to get water from one cup into another cup without spilling it. that is a goal. And so just that you have trusted your child with a bottle or a container of water, knowing that they could spill that water all over the floor and make a mess, but you still trust them. You know, you tell them, be careful, because if you don't do it well, it's going to spill all over and we're going to have to mop. And it's okay, you're going to mop it, it's just water on the floor. And so let them know that if they don't get it in, you're going to have a mess to clean up, and you probably don't want to clean up that mess because maybe you want to spend more time with them. Just let them know what the consequences are, and so they have that in mind, and they will build that confidence. So they will build that goal to pour that water into the other glass without spilling it. And when they do it, they'll be so proud, and so will you, and you will have a confident child that is, you know, just there setting goals and achieving those goals. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. And I feel like this is, I know I gave very simple examples, but this is something that can definitely be implemented on any level or at any scale. It could be in games, it could be in academics, it could be in life generally, and even in adults. I mean, if you have adult children, teenagers, it's never too late to try and start. You know, just let them know that you trust them and you're confident in their decision making. Let them make the decisions for school the next day. You know, let them make a decision on a trip that they have to go on. Let them just make those decisions, and why those decisions, and ask them, why do you think that decision is the best decision for you? And just see how your child thinks. You'll be shocked to find that your child is actually more mature and more mindful and centered than you would expect them to be. So more than that, I think it's about parents trusting themselves enough to be able to trust that child, to be able to set those goals and achieve them. And yeah, this is all I had for you today. I hope it was helpful, and it helps you at least achieve one goal, and have a child or a toddler that's able to set goals, whatever goals those may be. And I wish you luck in this journey, this beautiful journey of parenting. And yeah, until the next video.